Will Xpeng use stolen Tesla technology to exceed Tesla in China in every way? This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. Also want to thank our Patreon supporters. Thank you for your support. It's greatly appreciated. We want to first start by saying congratulations on earnings again to those of you who are in. I hope you made some good money, and we're happy you did. So what I wanted to focus on today's show is the fact that we have a good friend of the show. His name is Carlo, and he's a Stanford alum that's based in southern France. And we have a kind of an interesting dialogue going where he will identify things that he thinks we should focus on, and he'll highlight them, and we'll go back and forth, somewhat in an intellectual battle. And so this morning, we were having a conversation. I indicated to him that, hey, let's be happy for one day. We've got good earnings from Tesla. Stock is up. Let's just be happy for one day before we go back to the negative. And so he said to me that given Xpeng having stolen Tesla's autopilot secrets and also coming out with a nice long-range vehicle, this represents a huge threat to Tesla. And so I thought about it, and I sort of chastised him a little bit for several reasons. The first thing that I pointed out to him is that in business, there's a concept called caveat emptor, which means buyer beware. So there's a very strange phenomenon in the car market in China, which kind of is mirrored in the United States, where the top end of the luxury market in the US is really controlled by mostly European makes. There's a few Cadillacs out there, but in general, it's European territory. So the issue is that in China, Mercedes, BMW, VW, et cetera, sort of they're the cachet vehicles that people aspire to for a whole bunch of reasons. And so you have a situation where the Chinese have a sense of appreciation for all aspects of performance, luxury, safety, et cetera, for foreign makes that they don't have for domestic manufacturers. And the result is that they kind of retain very small amounts of the luxury market in that space. Now, when we look at electric vehicles, the question is, is Tesla in trouble there? And the answer is that, there's kind of two tiers in this marketplace. There's the sort of the luxury tier, let's say 35, 40K and up, and then there's the down from there. So most of the electric vehicles sub 35,000 are rolling out with 100, 125 miles of range. So particularly in cold places where you need that extra range, or where people have long distances to go to work, they actually are focusing on electric vehicles, and Tesla's taking huge market share in its segment. So the last number we had was 30% of the market went to Tesla in, let's say, the March period. And, it's the first opportunity for the lower priced Chinese-built Model 3s to be in evidence. So I thought it was kind of interesting because I pointed out to Carlo, another detail point that popped up is that we did some research, and there's something called the South China Post. And one of the things that popped up between that and some other reading materials that we found is that Tesla's vehicles after 3 years are experiencing approximately 75% value retention in the marketplace. So what this means then, the comparison is that there's no Chinese vehicle that's over 50, and in general, they cluster around 25 to 30% of value retention after 3 years. And so what's kind of happened is there's Tesla, and then there's the rest of the market, that phenomenon that's developed. And this kind of fits the profile of how the Chinese tend to operate. So I kind of bring this up because, there's an interesting situation there where there's a real trusted nature for certain brands, and domestic brands, really can't compete in that space, even though in this case, Xpeng seems to be headed towards trying to be Tesla competitive. It's our thought that the Chinese will really maintain sort of their buying process, and therefore, hand Tesla the share that it usually gets and deserves, because it has great products. I don't think Tesla's going to sit on its laurels. One of the things Elon pointed out in the show last night was that not only are they changing the vehicle, but they're able to take cost out while improving the vehicles that are on the road. So I expect this to continue, and there's no sort of let up in Tesla's process in accomplishing this. Another thing that comes up relative to China and Tesla is just the fact that they explained during the after our presentation yesterday that the goal was to increase the size of gigafactories, with the goal being bringing 100% of everything being produced for the vehicles under one real estate footprint, not necessarily one building. And the goal there being part of the cost reduction is proximity to all the parts of the vehicle and its production. That way you can have lower costs based on transportation costs or time being eliminated. So a lot of conversations have gone into what exactly is Tesla building in Shanghai, and we kind of have an answer for that, which is they're trying to go 100% vertical. They have not achieved that yet relative to having 100% local parts going into the Tesla, but that is a goal. And the model we have from Reno suggests that, if they don't have domestic suppliers, they can go and have gone to other countries, namely Germany and other places, to bring those manufacturers into manufacturing space with the rest of the car. So this is kind of what we're expecting to occur as we see it going forward. So the idea behind this show in general was that the issue raised by Carlo was, will Xpeng in essence sort of destroy Tesla in that marketplace? And in this issue, resale value is kind of a window on the degree to which the vehicles are respected in the space, and people are willing to drive them as secondhand vehicles and happy to pay for them. And Tesla is sort of dominating that when it comes to electric vehicles in China. The next thing we wanted to cover in this discussion is just the fact that when you look at HEPA filters and biohazard mode and some of the things that Tesla does, Elon pointed out that the filtration system in the Model 3 is still superior to everything else on the road. So given the coronavirus, et cetera, even if they don't get the X or S for the severe HEPA filter attributes of the vehicles, you could definitely see folks being happy to make the Tesla choice, be it Model 3 or the other vehicles. Another thing that came up during the show that was kind of interesting to watch was that Elon pointed out that they actually are going to be reducing the prices on the Model 3s that are built in China, but it would actually be slightly lower than when they had the subsidies that no longer exist from the Chinese government. And as they do that, it's not going to affect their margins at all. So it really shows the effort to continue to eat at costs, reduce the overall cost of the vehicle. And as that cost falls, it starts to go after domestic competitors, where a lot of consumers now are going to have to think twice before they sort of downstep into domestic makes as a way to control the overall cost of the vehicle, especially in somewhat of a tough economy. So we're kind of intrigued by the fact that you would think that, if anything, the pressure would be coming from Chinese competitors on Tesla. But Tesla's throwing off some impressive statistics. Not only are they reducing cost, which broadens the footprint of potential buyers within China, they actually talked about the fact that, and I've kind of seen this happening in the US, they're actually slightly raising prices on the Model Ys. I don't know about the X and S's. And also, they're able to reduce prices and still maintain their margins, if not increase them, in China. So They also pointed out that they have a rather large backlog of vehicles um, that they have waiting lists. They didn't get into what that number looked like, but it's pretty impressive that they have, these pillars of good business all lined up, all doing well, all ready to contribute to the success of the company. So congratulations to Tesla, those of you who own the stock and are supporters. And we look forward to keeping you guys up to date on new news in every capacity, including this one. So thank you, Carlo, for the suggestion of a show today. I have to admit, I'm still surprised that the ultimate data point for this show is just the fact that the used car dealers in Beijing made the comment that the only electric vehicle we carry are Teslas, and would consider buying them, from owners and reselling them. And no other makes are part of that resale market that's not being run by Tesla, but run by non-Tesla entities. And it shows both the quality and the respect for the quality that's had by the Chinese. So we look forward to your comments on this. What are your thoughts? And I think it'd be interesting to sort of generate a dialogue in that space. At any rate, again, thank you for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Don't forget 25 leg lifts, no more than once a week fried foods. Please take time to maybe lift some weights, maintain bone density, and a 5-2 or other diet might be something to consider as a fasting diet to help out on health effects. Thanks once again. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, Lehitrot, Hebrew, Choda Hafez, Farsi, and Zdravstvuyte, Russian, hello, Ni hao.